So Yannick Sinner completely smashes Carlos Alcaraz in the Six Kings Slam event in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. 6-2, 6-4, but are people still questioning his integrity? This is Headlines by Hamza, Tennis Edition. So Sinner makes it 2 out of 2 in this event. Last year he won in a lengthy affair, 3 sets, and this year he wins in straight sets, and this one is just over an hour as opposed to last year's, which was more of a marathon. But going into it, I actually had Carlos Alcaraz winning. I thought if both guys were at their absolute best, playing with complete freedom and whatnot, I did think that Alcaraz's game is just, he goes a bit higher, and there's a bit more of a liberated feel to him, where he has this sort of creativeness and this inventiveness that Sinner doesn't have, and that's what I thought, but I'm wrong. Oh well. So Sinner wins, but I do think that this point that I'm going to get to is worth revisiting, even though we're months on from it now, because it still lingers there, and that is Sinner's doping situation. Now I should know, for all intents and purposes, Sinner is completely drug-free at the moment, as far as we're all aware. So I'm not accusing him of anything, I'm talking about his case earlier this year. And why? Because certain players, namely Nick Kyrgios, do love talking about him, and obviously there's a bit of animosity and hatred. I would use the word hatred because I think it's actually quite applicable, because I think Nick Kyrgios does actually harbour those type of feelings towards people, and yeah, definitely harbours it towards Yannick Sinner. And if we look at, some of the comments that Djokovic has even made about the situation, it's like there's a distrust between the governing bodies, and he's 100% true, because if you look at some of the other doping cases, take Simona Halep, for example, former best player in the world and the best women's player in the world, and she received a 4-year ban, which was reduced to, was it 8 months, I think, or 7 months? She served it anyway, right? But the point is that there's a huge level of inconsistency there, right? And although they found that there was no negligence on Sinner's part, it's still really, really poor not implementing the rules properly and not showing complete fairness. I understand that every case is different, but let's just break it down to this: it's all about money. Now at the moment, if no one is familiar with the male tennis dynamic, is there are 2 players that stand heads and shoulders above everyone else, and those are the 2 players that I've mentioned already, Carlos Alcaraz and Yannick Sinner. So from a money standpoint, obviously they would rather keep Sinner, or will have Sinner available, because it generates more eyes and overall generates more revenue, and all the big organisers win, blah blah blah, and as do all of the other governing bodies involved and all the sponsors and whatnot. Because we're obviously exiting an era of the 3 greatest players of all time, and you've seen these 2 players and they've probably thought to themselves, all the organisations and whatnot, that shit, this is the next 2 best players, we need to, keep them available. But by doing what they did in Sinner's case, it completely questions their integrity to be able to do their job effectively, and it also questions the integrity of the sport and moving forward as well, because it just makes you think, well, are there going to be more cases of this? Now, don't get me wrong, Sinner should most definitely be held accountable and responsible for his actions and for whatever part he played, albeit there was no negligence or whatever. But simply put, the governing bodies have to do a much better job at handling situations like this and keeping consistency, fairness, all of that sort of thing, and keeping the respect and values of the sport. And for Yannick Sinner, what does he need to keep doing? Well, he just needs to not only stay squeaky clean with regards to in his team and camp and everything he does and the way he goes about his business, but he needs to keep performing and keep playing and keep entertaining everyone, because that's the only way he's going to ever change this, I don't want to say narrative, because it's not as if like the whole fan base, I don't see him as a complete cheat all the time. I don't really take that approach. Yes, he should have been punished for that occasion, but everything moving forward is, as long as he's followed the processes and whatnot, then I'm not going to hold anything against him. It's just, I think it's just, that should be a normal approach, right? But sadly, this will always be tied to him, despite what I just said, but as long as he keeps on playing, keeps on winning, keeps on following all the correct processes and all the laws, and shows that he is, a straight A, because I don't think he would cheat with intention or, take PEDs and whatnot, because, you're just a loser if you do that in any sport, frankly. That's just the way I see it. I think you should be held pinned right against the wall, and there should be some major repercussions for it. Sadly, not every sport does go that far, but yeah, Sinner just needs to keep on playing at such an elite level, keep on winning and entertaining everyone, and hopefully one day we will all look back and this will not be a huge stain on his career if he wins like 15, 16, 17 slams, because I do think he's very capable of doing that.